Hello, it's Joanne again. I am going to make a video. This is going to be a long video about how I make my junk journal from start to finish, and then I'll do a flip through at the end, so I hope you'll stick around. It is a long video and I debated about doing it, but here goes. I started off with this card, and this is where I got my color scheme and my ideas. I call it a springboard. I think of it as being at the top of the springboard when you're about to jump in the pool and you need an idea. Are you going to do it or not? Well, I saw that picture and I decided I was going to do it. And then I had this apple turnover box. So there, I had the cover and I had an idea. So the wheels were turning. So first I take the box apart, and then I start gathering my supplies, and I decide I'm going to stay within that color theme of the cream and that blue and maybe some browns, and getting my self organized by, at least I start off organized. I wish I could stay that way, but honestly I don't stay that way. I start off with a basket and piling things up on my desk and deciding this would be good with that, that would be good with that, because you have to have a place to go, right? In the beginning, when I first started doing journals, I just didn't know which direction to take. So now I know, starting off with a color theme in mind and then gathering some supplies that go with that color theme helps you. So I get my tape, my ephemera that I've already made, and I just kind of keep going through things, and whatever jumps out at me as I'm going along, I decide that's gonna possibly go into the journal, and then I just keep making my pile. It gets higher and higher, and then I get excited about doing this journal. So these are all the things that I've chosen and I may or may not use. So now I'm getting my cover done. I'm using my 3-in-1 glue, my apple turnover box, and my fabric. When I first look at this fabric, before I cut into it, I have this idea. This hem could be used for closure, or it could be used for something else. So I'm going to trim this all off and get this and put this in my pile for another journal, or maybe even the closure. So first things first, I glue down the cover, and when you have a cover that has all this colorful illustration, I call it, on there, you got to make sure that you have a fabric that's nice and dark to cover that, otherwise you'll have to do a lining. So thankfully this time I didn't have to do that because this is a nice dark fabric. So I am making sure my corners are the way that I want them, and I'm going to cut this and trim this, but first I will glue it down and then get my clips out to help with the gluing process. So having already glued the back of it, I'm just going to cut now. So I am putting some buttons on this corner here because there was some glue on the dotted Swiss that was on the corner there, and I want to cover that up with some buttons, and it also adds some texture to the project. So I just enjoy watching people sew. I don't know if that's the same for you or not, but I thought I would keep this piece in because I find it relaxing. It's funny because I don't like to sew buttons on clothes. I used to throw them away instead of throwing the buttons on them. So there we have the buttons all sewn on, and I'm about to glue this on and fix that corner there. And still hadn't decided yet at this point what I was going to do for the edge or the binding. So I'm still considering that embossed paper. So I kind of want to show it off because I did make it. So but then maybe this lace might work here too. Let's see. You have to wait and get to the end and you'll see what I decide, because I don't want my strings to show on this. So my lining's all good. Now I'm ready for signatures. So I'm going to cut these signatures to size 5 1/4 by 10 1/2. Save the scraps for some ephemera, should I choose to do that. I'm using a template here just to keep me in line. Right here I am going to make a pocket with this paper, because this is the paper that I've avocado dyed and tea dyed. So I'm folding it down the middle to make it the 5 1/2, and then because the end's a little bit longer, I'll just fold it over, and then afterwards I'll run it through the sewing machine on each end so that there'll be a little pocket in there. So just using my template, making sure that I'm staying on track with that. And right here I have a page that I'm really loving, but I'm not loving pieces of it because there's mice in it. So I'm going to cut those mice out and use the pieces that I do like and put the mice in the trash. And then I'm going to turn this one page into 2 pages. So I need 2 pages and I need some washi tape. So I'm going to take those 2, make sure that they're each the right size of a half of a page, which is 5 1/4, I believe, if I remember right. So I'll cut them to size 5 1/4, 5 1/4, and then lay the washi tape right down the middle to hold them together. And the 2 will become 1. And that's how you can make 2 pages into one if you can get the washi tape to stick. I found it much easier when I laid it down on the table after I did this, but that's how that goes. Easy peasy. Always wondered how people did it, making the 2 pages into one. You can use masking tape too, which I have, but I just don't know where it is. So for now, this works. So I'm just gathering my papers here. They're all cut, and I'm trying to decide which is going to go into what pile for signatures. Now's the time to do the sewing. Any sewing that you want on your signatures before you bind them in. So here I'm going to do a ruffle just to show you how I do a ruffle. On the edge of the page I use a knitting needle or a stiletto or even my awl sometimes, even my pointed scissors, the point on the scissors, just to ruffle up the edge. I mean, now's the time that you want to sew any pockets and do all the sewing that needs to be done, because it's more of a challenge once the pages are already sewn in the book. So you only have to make that mistake a couple of times to do that. So if you're going to do it. And this is what this looks like. So this part is really boring for me, and it's hard because it's kind of like when you're decorating a cake and you got it all nice and smooth just the way you want it, and if you go to put the writing on it and you mess it up, then it messes up the whole thing. So this is a 3 signature binding. So what I had to do was get the awl and make the holes in it on a piece of paper into the binding before I sewed the binding in. Now, I did take my ruler and measure out 3 strings or 3 increments there, so that way it would be fairly even. I have to deal with this ruffle that I sewed in on the bottom, so that's okay. Putting the holes in with the awl on the front, on the back, the fabric, it doesn't really keep the holes, so you have to sometimes go over it twice. Another part that's not my favorite is sewing in the binding or sewing in the signatures. Sometimes I have to wrestle with the holes, and I have to wrestle with keeping my needle in line with the holes that I've made. I do pull out the pliers every now and then to help me pull the needle through, and that does help. I did split the middle thread when I was putting this in, so that caused a problem because if you split the thread, I always wondered what would happen if you split the thread. And when I did it, I figured it out. You can't move the thread anymore. So I did do that in one of the signatures, so I had to redo that. So here I am struggling here with my last signature. It's so much easier doing a one signature journal or a traveler's journal. Oh, it's so much easier. But, you know, it's good to have challenges too. If I run across real problems, I just take the signatures and I take one page at a time and stack it up onto the needle so I can get the needle through and get the binding done. Eventually, it will get done. It just takes a little bit longer sometimes when you do have more than one signature, at least for me. Maybe for somebody else who has tons and tons of experience, it's easier. For me, it takes me a while. I'm still working through it. I am happy with myself that I didn't split the thread, but only once. So that's a good thing. So hopefully that wasn't too painful to watch. I had to redo the binding a few times, and now I'm here at the end. This is going to be my closure. So let's open this up and see what the end results are. So I ended up doing this lace on the side, on the binding, getting my parts all mixed up. So we have a little pocket in there. And I started off with autumn in my mind. There's a turkey there and the orange. Thought they went together nice. And right here we have a instructions on how to bake a potato. Yeah. Pretty long instructions. So we're adding some color to this. Slowly I'm getting away from the autumn theme somehow. There is leaves on that though. Depends on how you look at it, I guess. So we have a nice 1965 letter, and just gonna let you enjoy this flip through. Let me be quiet for a little bit here. I kind of got away from my blue theme, my blue and beige theme. I put it back in some areas. There's a tea bag. It's the middle of the first signature. That's from Joann's. They have a new wallpaper collection. There's my original inspiration. I'm going to use it probably as a writing card. I'm going to put this in my Etsy shop, this journal. And there you have Brad's Boots. If you want to know what that means, then you'll have to look at one of my other videos. And actually, that's the name of my Etsy shop, Brad's Boots. I think you can in addition to, you can find it as Joann's Junk Journal Life. I'm having trouble with Etsy answering me. That's apparently the junk journal highway that everybody travels down, Etsy. So I've got to go down that road, even though the customer service to me is subpar. But getting back on task, continue with the second signature flip through. There's an envelope, vintage envelope from the 60s. I like putting little pops of color that you wouldn't expect, like that yellow. There's my embossed paper. I did get it in the journal somewhere. There's my sewing on each side of the page. Free motion sewing in this poem that I came across I really like. I love the illustrations on this. And I say you can never go wrong with pink roses. And there's some of the pockets that I demonstrated earlier. Some new ledger paper. And this is a Kate Greenway book that I cut the mice out of. Pictures of mice, that is. I love this because I put the red ribbon to match the red and silver stars, because I could just imagine the student getting a star and being so happy. And part of going through papers and ephemera for me is taking a pause and thinking about what the person that used this paper was doing when they used this paper. And this letter is particularly special because I found it from my daughter, Jessica, and it's to her imaginary friend. And the letter starts off funny. It says, "Hi, me," and it's just really special because she too is in heaven. And if you've watched my videos, you know that. But I just found it in her things today. It was sweet. I just thought I'd let you read it. And the funny part is the end. It says, Jessica went to the dentist and she does not have any cavities. She was telling her imaginary friend that. She must have been about 8 or 9. I homeschooled her for 2 years. So we are almost to the end. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a nice project, and outside of the camera malfunctions, it was really fun. So if you would like to support me with a subscribe and a comment, because YouTube likes comments, it'd be great. Hopefully you're still here at the end. It's been a long video, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.